We're going to begin with this open letter to New Zealand Rugby, signed or supported by representatives of the National Council of Women, the CTU, the YWCA, the Māori Women's Welfare League, MPs, the Human Rights Commissioner, the Equal Employment Opportunities Commissioner, and more than a dozen others, calling for courage and personal leadership from rugby's senior managers in the wake of NZ Rugby's investigation into what happened at the Chiefs' end of season party. In part, the letter says, and I quote, "The internal investigation into an incident involving a woman called Scarlett and members of the Chiefs rugby team has highlighted to all New Zealanders that NZ Rugby's judiciary process is not appropriate for dealing with issues of integrity, mana, respect and basic personal rights." Joining us now in the studio is Equal Employment Opportunities Commissioner Dr. Jackie Blue. Dr. Blue, welcome to Checkpoint. Nice to have you in here.
Lovely to be here, John.
Right, whose idea was this?
It was our idea. We were quite frustrated at how the whole story had unravelled, and particularly a month ago when the first news of this came out, we offered our support. Well, I offered my support to them directly and really encouraged them to consider doing an independent inquiry. That was over a month ago.
In fact, I'm looking at this letter now. It says, "We are offering our expertise, experience and support." Louise Nicholas has been working alongside New Zealand Police to successfully enhance their internal culture for some time now. And Dr. Jackie Blue offered to assist a month ago.
That's correct.
So what were you hoping to do a month ago? This was when what we learnt from Scarlett first became public.
That's correct. We really pushed for an independent inquiry. The allegations were incredibly serious and it really needed an independence. It needed a person who could conduct those interviews, who had expertise and questioning victims, bystanders, and also alleged offenders. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. If they had accepted my advice and support, one of the first people I would have asked them to encourage to join would have been Louise Nicholas.
Okay. Did you hear back from them a month ago when you went to the Who did you go to?
Well, we wrote to the CEO and we didn't...
Oh, the CEO of the Chiefs?
Yes, the Rugby Union.
Okay, so Steve Chu?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear back from them?
No, not at all.
So what do you make of that?
Well, they were obviously getting on with their inquiry, didn't feel that they needed our support, and so we just left the matter.
And so when you saw yesterday and heard Steve Chu being interviewed, what did you think of the inquiry, its outcome, its processes, and the fact that the NZRU conducted this itself?
It was appalling. It went off the rails completely. The first error was obviously not having independence and doing their own internal inquiry conducted by a paid employee. If you're going to ask the same questions to the same people by the same person, you're going to get the same results. It really needed independence. The allegations were very, very serious.
What do we learn from all of this about the situation that Scarlett found herself in and how people respond to these kinds of accusations when they are made against almost a sacred cow in New Zealand society, like professional rugby?
Look, every woman has the right to be safe in their work, in their home, or when they go about their business, no matter what their occupation or profession is. Scarlett had every right to absolutely feel safe when she went to that venue, and she wasn't safe. She felt so unsafe she had to go public on it, and believe me, I'm sure she did not do that lightly.
No, having spoken to her, I can tell you she didn't.
No.
You feel very strongly about this,
I
don't you?
I felt for Scarlett when this all happened, and I knew that she'd be trolled and there'd be abuse and there'd be all sorts of comments that would not be helpful. And unfortunately, the Rugby Union decided to carry on with a non-independent inquiry.
Steve Chu's come out, and the inquiry, in fact, has come out and said the allegations were not substantiated. What does that mean?
Well, who knows what it means? I mean, none of us know what really happened and who was involved. We have no names. We don't know what the type of questions that were asked. And we know none of this. The fact that it was internal, it was serious, it was unstamped, it was not proven. It really means that the inquiry failed. It absolutely failed. There should have been some strong recommendations about the process, about the management, about the fact that there's a woman who felt so unsafe that she went public. These were serious allegations. They did not take it seriously, unfortunately.
The letter says rugby is like a religion in New Zealand with players worshipped by young Kiwis throughout the country. We must address the culture that exists from the top down and set the right example, particularly for young New Zealanders. What sort of culture are you talking about? What needs to be addressed?
Well, the management culture, that she's all right, this is not a problem, just boys being boys, that has to be addressed. It's also how women can be respected, no matter what their profession and how they go about their daily life. Women need to be respected. They have every right to feel safe. And, you know, just to say that the process was wrong, they shouldn't have it on an outside venue, or they hired a stripper, and that wasn't inappropriate. The inappropriate thing was that woman felt so unsafe when she should have felt safe. She had every right to feel safe.
If I look at the names who have signed this letter, so we go through Louise Nicholas, of course, Barbara Williams from the National Council of Women, Dame Susan Devoy, Mona Briggs, who's the CEO of the YWCA, MPs Ruth Dyson, Jan Logie, Tracy Martin, so in fact 3 different parties there. What do you hope to achieve now? What needs to happen so that there is a more inclusive sense of resolution, so that there is a greater buy-in and a greater sense that something appropriate has happened?
The rugby union have to accept there has been a problem, and they need to accept the offer on hand. Whether they approach an individual on that list or one group or some groups is a step in the right direction, and what help that takes would have to be obviously sorted out over coming weeks. But they have to accept there's an issue, and they should see it not as a failure, they should see it as being courageous, and they would be applauded if they came forward and said, we need help. Because it's the women of New Zealand. We represent tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of women, and we want to be part of that support.
Dr. Jackie Blue, who is, of course, the Equal Employment Opportunities Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us in the studio this evening. We really appreciate your time.